Hello, everybody. I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of buns, and welcome back to the Disney debate where Kat Macberrie, Doug Macberrie, and myself discuss Disney movies along the timeline. But before we get into any of that, I would like to introduce our co-hosts. First of all, Kat Macberrie. How's it going, Kat?
Happy holidays, happy holidays, happy holidays, happy holidays. Hello.
Hello.
Happy holidays to everybody.
And Doug Macberrie.
I wish it were Christmas every day. I wish it were Christmas every day. No, I don't. But didn't the Fairly Odd Parents do it first?
Yeah, Fairly Odd Parents, Groundhog Day. Like, you don't want Christmas every single day. I'm just saying it right now.
But we'll get to that.
You don't want to mix your Christmas with your Groundhog Day. No.
With that being said, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays. We were recording this in advance for our Christmas special, our annual Christmas tradition. But before we begin, one thing that you may notice in the background, Kat Macberrie and Doug Macberrie have produced and budded, and there is now a new Macberrie in the world. So Remy is their latest creation, and she will be in the background. And she may be saying some stuff, but yeah, everyone congratulate Kat and Doug for being parents.
Thank you. It was no trouble whatsoever. Yeah. Don't worry, she hopefully will behave herself, and if she objects, then she'll let out a loud poop. Oh, yep. Speak of the devil. Nah, it was a sneeze. It's okay.
She has also been christened into the Disney lifestyle, as The Lion King was on last night, and I reenacted the beginning of the film with her. Everything the light touches is now her kingdom.
I just hope you didn't do the version where they yeeted Simba into the sun.
Never. She's our baby girl.
No.
We would never do that.
No.
So yeah, we have a new addition to the podcast. This is a new adventure for us, so we're working around it, and we're gonna make sure things work. But as such, welcome to the world, Remy Macberrie. In any case, it is now time for us to get into the Disneys for this Christmas. We thought about it for a bit, and we've covered a few different Christmas movies, and we tossed around doing Santa Claus 3 to kind of finish that up. But I think, thinking about it, a lot of us were just not ready to do that yet. We had a lot of Martin Short with Frankenweenie, and I don't think I was quite ready for that.
Nah, me neither. Definitely not. After giving birth, I'm like, no, I need to recover. I don't need another dose of Martin Short just yet.
But also because of that, like, we said to ourselves, if we do Santa Claus 3, that's not the end, because it's the TV series. We're not ready for that. So, we decided to do something a little bit shorter. We're going to be talking about Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. For those who don't know, a while back, we tackled Mickey's Christmas Carol, which is one of the big specials for Mickey. They have holiday specials based around it. And when we covered that, it was mentioned Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas and Twice Upon a Christmas. And I'm like, I've never even heard of these things, so I was curious to actually see this. And, well, I don't think there's quite as much to discuss when it comes to Once Upon a Christmas. I did enjoy it. Before I give it to Kat and Doug and we talk about like our overall thoughts and get into the individual segments, I think Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas is harmless. It does its job well. It is a Christmas special. There's 3 segments. It is kind of like what you expect from a TV show, putting different things together. But this is Disney kind of taking their characters and putting them into Christmas stories. I think it does its job pretty well. It's interesting because it received mixed reviews from critics upon release. It is well received by audiences, and a lot of the people in the Disney Debate Facebook group have said they like it. I think it's okay. I don't think it's bad. but I think it could have been better for the time period. This was 1999. I didn't grow up with it. Kat, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, despite the fact that I did own this movie, I barely remembered it. Like, my sister was the one who was more into the straight-to-DVD stuff than I was. So there was a lot of things that we owned that I didn't either get around to watching or that I didn't really pay much attention to, and this was one of them. Like, I saw it, but it just escaped my mind just because the stories in it were so generic. And it was one of those anthology things, so it was like 3 different stories, all of which were generic. So I barely remembered this and was surprised when you said that you wanted to review it. And if I'm being honest, I remember Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas a lot more than I remember this one. But having seen it again, I mean, it's a perfectly serviceable Christmas special. I mean, that's basically what it was. It was a Christmas special starring the main 6 of Disney canon, and hey, it gives you that. It does its job, so you can't exactly, it fails in any aspect in that regard.
Like, for me, I think what makes it stand out is that, like, for a lot of people, this was probably something they watched on Christmas when they were younger. I was not at the right age at the time, but, like, I still think Mickey's Christmas Carol is better. Heck, I think the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special is better simply because it gives us a memorable song that kind of cements it as a Christmas staple. Doug, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't remember this even coming out when I was younger. I didn't even realize it was 99. I thought this was like 2001 or something. So my comment about the Fairly Odd Parents Christmas special, I guess that was wrong. I guess this came first. But yeah, honestly, I wasn't even aware of it until I think the Nostalgia Critic reviewed it. And even then, I kind of like forgot about whatever was going on in it. I kind of just had that going on in the background. But yeah, I mean, watching it's pretty serviceable. It's, basically it's like, an anthology, 3 different, short, stories, with, the big, characters of Disney. So yeah, I mean, and in some ways it kind of like retells some things, like, definitely does, the whole Gift of the Magi to the point where, one of the segments is called Gift of the Magi. But It does do it with a little twist to it. And yeah, like we said, basically, like, the thing at the beginning, the Christmas every day, is basically a takeoff of Groundhog Day, but Christmas. I forget exactly if there's, something with the middle thing with Goofy and Max, but, I'm sure that's that whole, facing whether Santa's real or not. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty harmless.
Yeah, we're going to get into the individual segments in a second, but I feel like they played it safe with this. It's not bad, but, like, all of these are either based on existing properties or storylines that we've seen a lot. And it's one of those things that I feel would be okay to younger audiences, but to us who've seen it all, I don't think it's anything new. Kat?
Yeah, like I said, it's really nothing special. I mean, the plot lines are stories we've heard before, the wishing that it was Christmas every day, the same as, like, Groundhog's Day, the Gift of the Magi, which has been done different times, a child losing their faith in the existence of Santa Claus. We've seen all these things before, both in TV and in movies, so this is all nothing special. Like, really the only special thing is that we're seeing the main 6 for, like, the first time ever in their own movie. Which, believe it or not, at the time was a big thing. This was like the first time you ever had Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, and Pluto as the main stars of their own feature film. Like, they've been in other stuff together, but they were never the focus. So this was, like, probably the only really unique thing about that.
Now, let's get into the segments themselves, and the thing about some of these segments is even Disney has tackled some of this stuff before. Let's start with Donald Duck's Stuck on Christmas. It was inspired by the 1892 short story Christmas Every Day, which is kind of like Groundhog Day. But, we've done stuff like this with Disney. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but there was a Disney Channel original movie called The Christmas Wish or something like that, where, someone makes a wish for something bad happens, and you have to change your expectations. The whole idea is that Huey, Dewey, and Louie are unappreciative of Christmas, and they take all the stuff for granted. They open up their presents before Donald can even come down the stairs. They don't appreciate all the food that he makes for them, all the stuff that's nice for them. They take their presents, their sleds, and they go, and they wish for it to be Christmas every day, and they get their wish. And it's just the same thing every day. And we can kind of see where this is going. Fairly Odd Parents, like Doug said, has done this. When Christmas is every day, eventually the magic wears off because you're just reliving the same experience. There's nothing new, nothing to experience from that regard. Kat?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I don't... it's basically a whole, cautionary tale about indulgence, in that the reason Christmas is so special is because it only comes once a year, so you have to treasure the time where it is here. And clearly with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, they're your typical little boys. They don't think ahead. They don't think of others. They're purely about just selfish gain and everything. I hate to say it, but this is one of those, prime examples of why Donald, has such, had such a bad relationship with his nephews for, decades before, 2017 DuckTales occurred. Because if I had nephews like this, my blood pressure would be through the roof constantly. You almost can't blame Donald for, lashing out at them, because, they truly are, they're almost, really, really peak selfishness here. I can't say total peak, because that happens in the sequel. But, yeah, it at first it's not too bad, because again, it's mostly Donald who they mess with, which is something you expect. But then when they realize that nothing's going to change, that Christmas is going to keep occurring the same way over and over, they're like, well, how do we make this worse? How do we fuck with people to the best of our ability? And they do it to the point where they not only mess with Donald, they mess with Daisy and Scrooge and their Aunt Gertie, and they essentially just ruin Christmas for them for no reason other than they're sadistic little bastards that just want, need a semblance of amusement and a shake to the status quo. It's kind of messed up when you think about it.
And then finally they realize, okay, we messed up. Let's actually make things right. And then Christmas is over finally. It's a lesson of them learning that. Now, what I was thinking of, and I looked this up while you were talking, in 2000 there was a direct-to-Disney Channel movie called The Ultimate Christmas Present. Not the exact same concept, but basically two girls steal Santa's weather machine in order to make it snow so they don't have to do homework, and they get in trouble and they realize a lesson. It's kind of like that. Disney has done a lot of stuff like this, to be honest, and it's not the most original concept. We've seen something similar, but it's these three kids have to learn that Christmas is more than just presents, and you have to value other people. Doug.
Yeah, I mean, it basically, like we said, it basically plays out the same exact way as Groundhog Day. It's you keep going in the loop of the same old, same exact day over and over. It's just that, Huey, Louie, Dewey are aware of it, and it becomes, you have to do something different, you have to figure out what it is you're doing wrong before you can actually break the cycle. Where, and it seems like they kind of just keep doing the same things. It's insanity. They keep hoping to live the exact same day, and hoping for different results. And it's not until they actually make the effort to, see how would their uncle want to, spend the day? How, how do their actions, what are the consequences of their actions towards, their other friends and family members that have come, it's basically that. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty simplistic. It's basically downright, like I said, unlike with the Fairly Odd Parents, which, it's not a loop, it just is Christmas every single day, so it's basically like a brand new day each time, but it's Christmas, to the point where, like, you see Timmy's dad is lamenting that he doesn't even have any more money left for Nog or for more presents for Timmy. And
we love you, Noggy.
Well, it's even worse because they're actively draining Santa's power, because like during that year the fairies all grant him the power to do what he does on Christmas, and since Christmas doesn't end, the fairies don't have their magic anymore, and that is like, to the point where like magic is about to disappear. So the stakes are considerably higher in that, but at least they do something different.
Did it better. Yeah.
Right. But the thing I did like the difference with Groundhog Day is that when that happens to Bill Murray, he doesn't realize at first why it's happening, and they don't really provide an adequate explanation as to why either. It's more like he just comes to his own conclusion, and you see like over the course of an unspecified period of time, like that he kind of, just decides to make the most of it before things get bad, then they get good. Whereas with here, Huey, Dewey, and Louie bring it upon themselves, which kind of makes it a little more cathartic, because it's like, good, I'm glad you're suffering. You deserve to suffer, given how much you make your uncle suffer. Because, like, poor Donald, man, I feel so bad for him. And he gave them such thoughtful gifts and a heartfelt card, and they don't deserve any of it. It's like,
they don't read the card. They never stop. And like one of the big things that I'm just like, okay, they eventually read the card, but they don't go back and say, hey, he's about to trip. Let's actually save the food. Let's help him. Let's appreciate what he's done for us. And it takes them so long to realize it. There's just a lot of things that I don't like about that. But something I want to bring up here that's kind of related, but kind of not. So in this short, we have Donald, Daisy, we have Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Obviously, normal stuff. Uncle Scrooge shows up, and Uncle Scrooge is something that makes sense because Scrooge is related to Christmas, and we see, how that works. But then we have Aunt Gertie, and I had to ask Kat, like, who's Aunt Gertie? Kat, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I mean, I had to do research myself, and I've come to the conclusion that she was made up purely for this special. Because, like, even, like, I was looking at Reddit, and, like, even people there were asking, like, who is she? Does she appear in any other specials or TV shows? Or is she, like, one of those deep-cut relatives you see in, like, the comics? No, she does not exist anywhere else but this movie. And I think the only reason she exists is to be, like, a stereotype of that, that really overly affectionate aunt who, like, smothers their nieces and nephews in kisses. And, like, it's just like the relative you see maybe once in a blue moon, like only for holidays and like really special occasions. That's like the only reason I can imagine why they put her in this, because it's like, dude, you have this extensive like family tree for the Duck family, and you had to make up somebody new who only appears once. You couldn't borrow from anywhere else. Like, it's kind of a waste.
It is weird. Like, for the most part, I think this fits Christmas dinner perfectly. It's just you have this random person here, and I'm just like, you couldn't have had like any of Donald's relatives. Like, why, Doug?
You have a confusing family structure. You know that?
Yeah, we still have to wait about 18 years before they're gonna actually tackle the real the Duck family in kind. So yeah, I mean, this was kind of like, I guess, the Disney for beginners thing, but yeah, clearly people who didn't really know the full canon of the Duck family, and was like, oh hey, let's throw in this random character who, has never existed before.
It's kind of funny because we used to do a podcast called Diving into DuckTales. We finished once the show finished. And I thought we wouldn't have anything more to say, but I'm just like, what about Cousin Feathery now? What about Uncle Gladstone? Like, you could, there's so many things that the show touched upon. And I mean, granted, this is
I guess
far
they're
in the
too
future.
obscure for 1999 Disney Toon media.
I guess, I don't know.
It's a straight to DVD like Christmas special. You could tell they didn't put that much thought into it.
Is there any other thoughts on Stuck on Christmas before we move on? I feel like this was the most safe short, simply because it's something that we've seen a lot, but it's not like something that we've done to death. Anything to add for that?
I feel bad for Chip and Dale. They weren't doing anything, and they got attacked.
Yeah, they're just enjoying their presents, their train, and the boys are just like, well, fuck you for having a good time, and just like throw a snowball, just burying their home. It's like, dude, curled up your ass.
And just you wait. I mean, Chip and Dale, once Kingdom Hearts comes around, like, Chip and Dale are going to hop between worlds, and they're going to talk to Santa Claus in Halloween Town and say, no, you're not getting any presents. Like, this is canon.
The messed up thing is that we've seen Chip and Dale take revenge before, specifically against Donald, so it's a shame that they didn't do the same against Huey, Dewey, and Louie. It would have been cool to see, like, those two factions going to war with each other. I would love to see that.
Yeah. Overall, a very safe short. Not bad, but nothing I would write home about. I've seen it done better. Maybe for 1999, but I was 9 years old. I don't remember anything from that year, so it's like, I'm not entirely sure. Still, now that that's done, let's talk about A Very Goofy Christmas. Kat, do you want to take the summarization for this one?
Yeah, so this one, believe it or not, actually takes place when Max was rather young. Like, I think he was younger than he was in Goof Troop. And this was when he still believed in Santa. But then, of course, Goofy's neighbor Pete, being the bastard that he is, tells Max there is no Santa Claus, which causes Max to have a crisis of faith. So the whole short is about Goofy trying to reinstate his faith in Santa, even going to such extremes as trying to actually spot him in the sky. And it is honestly, I think, like, the best one in this series and in this anthology series. And, like, it is so aggressively wholesome because, like, you can see now why, like, Goofy is, like, the GOAT dad of, like, all Disney dads. Like, he is, honestly, like, it melted my heart just seeing, how, like, him, like, celebrating Christmas and trying so hard to cheer up Max despite what Pete had done. Like, I'm surprised, like, Goofy didn't chew him out for doing that, because seriously, you do not do that. You do not tell someone else's kid that Santa does not exist. That is, like, the biggest bastard move you could do. But seeing Goofy go all out, and it's not just for Max, but for his neighbor, who is, like, struggling financially, too, like, and him helping him, like, providing food and giving gifts to his kids and dress up as Santa. It's like, I may be, like, a cold-hearted, cynical bastard, especially around Christmas, but even this melted my heart.
This, to me, is the best part of the film. And it's just, we've seen Crisis of Faith before. Hell, we reviewed that with the Santa Claus 2. And Max, Max's plight kind of resembles what happens there. But I think it works because Max is so young. Again, this is before Goof Troop and a Goofy movie. And they show the lengths that Goofy goes to. And it starts off with this elaborate sequence where they try to get a letter to Santa Claus. And he doesn't say till the end what he always writes to Santa. It's like he wants Max to be happy. He doesn't want anything else. That, to me, is truly why I love Goofy in this. Yeah, he gets in a lot of trouble. He makes problems. I wouldn't eat the turkey because he put the box of stuffing, like, inside the box in the turkey. But he goes out of his way to make everyone else happy. He makes food for those less fortunate. He dresses up as Santa just to make their Christmas merry. And by the end of the film, when Max doesn't believe in Santa, he goes all out. He writes in the snow, don't forget Max. Like, stays up all night waiting for Santa just to prove that he is real. It is so heartwarming. Pete's a bastard, but I really love what they did with this. Doug?
Yeah, I remember those days back. Yeah, I remember like I was in second grade, and one of my classmates is like, "You still believe in Santa?" I'm like, that's just horrible. I don't want to put children through that, but at the same time, it's like, they're eventually going to find out one way or the other, whether it be some, jaded adult, or whatever the case. But it's such a hard thing to deal, but you want to keep that childhood innocence for as long as you can. um but yeah, definitely, I agree with both of you. This was so very wholesome. Granted, I think they could have done with a little less with that chase scene in the beginning, trying to get Max's letter to Santa,
It was very
to the
long.
mailman. That took a little too long, and I'm really questioning some of the decisions of it. But yeah, once the story gets going, then yeah, it's like you really feel, and it's like. And it's also like, I know that feeling of, having had the innocence killed for you, and then you're around other kids who still believe, and you want to tell them, that the same thing that you've experienced. But it's like, no, don't kill their joy. Especially, these are less fortunate people. They really need, like in the how Scrooge stole Christmas, or how Santa stole Christmas, whatever. With the warmest heart can keep a cold person warm for a whole night. It's that thing. It's like when they don't have much, they hold on to their beliefs as tight as they can to keep them happy, and no one has the right to take that away.
I think the only real misstep, aside from the chasing going on a little bit long, was Pete doesn't really get much punishment. He gets, snowed in, and he doesn't get coal, and like Santa Claus is real in this universe. Again, it's canonically, it's the same type of Kingdom Hearts thing. Santa Claus is real. But he doesn't get coal. He doesn't get like put into jail or like get anything happening to him. It's just, oh yeah, the snow that he blew all over everyone else is put on his house. And I'm just like, that's not enough punishment, because he did something that you can't take back. It's not something where like, oh, he was just a dick to someone. He took someone's belief away. And that, to me, I think warrants more punishment. Kat?
Well, to be fair, he does get punished in the next story, Mickey's story. So there's that.
Is that the same Pete? Is it?
Yeah, that's the same
supposed
Pete.
To be? Okay. So that's something. Maybe it's just delayed punishment.
Also, a beagle tried to rob his house. That's something.
Yeah, there's Beagle Boys robbing his house. I love that. Like when they're searching for Santa, and we get like false alarms. And the second one was, oh, someone's out of the chimney. Oh, it's just a Beagle Boy. I thought
that was probably the funniest part of the movie. Was like was Goofy getting all excited, be like, "Look, there's Santa. He's on the roof." And then all of a sudden, you see the light, and there's a Beagle Boy on the roof about to go down the chimney. And then you hear police sirens, and he's like, "We got you. Put your hands up." I'm like, damn, police are fast in this universe.
They're actually competent.
Yep.
I just really think it's nice to see a Goofy movie style Goofy back in action, and seeing how like young Max is. So it's very weird for me, because I did grow up with Goof Troop, but it's been a long time, and I saw a Goofy movie, an extremely Goofy movie. So my reference is seeing them as teenagers, with Max going to college, and this was nice for me because it brings it back, and you realize like, okay, this was a simpler time, and these characters grew up, and I liked this. I like this continuity.
Yeah, like honestly, it's nice because this is technically Max before he becomes like sort of jaded and consistently embarrassed by his dad. And like, I get it, when you're a teenager, you're just always embarrassed by your parent no matter what, because you just become so socially conscious that no matter what they do, it just seems so uncool. But Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see, like, in this instance, that wasn't the case. It was more just him thinking that his dad was, dumb in that, he was, like, so willfully believing in something that wasn't real. And it took him to, like, actually, for the roles to be reversed, where Goofy starts to doubt that Santa's real, that Max realizes, wait, it's not about whether or not he's real, it's about the joy that he causes on Christmas. And he even goes as far as to dress up himself as Santa, just to, like, cheer up Goofy. Which I thought was really nice. Because, like, I see so much of that with, like, when they do the special with, like, kids losing their faith, and then the parent has to go the extra mile to, like, get them to believe again. And half the time, it usually takes a Santa cameo to, like, make them physically believe in him, which I kind of think is a cop-out. But, and they do that in this, too, because, like, they kind of have to, because otherwise you're basically telling kids, oh, yeah, Santa definitely isn't real, but it's the thought that counts. And at that age, that their minds can't exactly wrap around that quite yet. But, I mean, even then, like, some specials manage to do it just right, and at least he learns the lesson before the Santa cameo happens.
And I really like that first of all, they break Goofy, and I'm just like, this is a very big moment. It reminds me of when Goofy's in a Goofy movie where he's just like, oh, I'm just a useless dummy anyway. I wouldn't know what to do. Like, they have this really wholesome moment between Goofy and Max, and I think it really shows how far these characters will eventually come, and I like that. But I also like that, when they talk to each other and realize, like, we went this far for each other because we're family. That's an important message.
Yeah, exactly. Like, seriously, Goofy, like, he was so unwavering in his belief. It's like, you almost thought that alone was going to get Max to believe again. And it honestly would have, like, changed my mind too, just like because he's answering all of Max's questions, and he's like maneuvering around the logistics of how does Santa travel around the world in one night, how do reindeer fly, and so on and so forth. Like, he's almost a pro at it. Like, he's been through this shit before. And I mean, given he's a photographer, and he's used to working with kids, I guess that must have come up in conversation once or twice. But, yeah, I mean, I almost expected him not to waver, so seeing that at the end was a bit of a surprise. But then again, I get why they did that, because they physically had to put Max in a position where, he learns the lesson the hard way. And I'm glad that they did that. I did want to say, I have my own, like, Santa story. And again, not to be a downer, it is a bit sad, at least on my part. The way that I learned that Santa didn't exist was the first Christmas that my parents divorced. Because the problem with that is that you have two parents that don't talk to each other trying to buy you gifts for Christmas, and you're under the assumption that, oh, Santa brings my presents, I'm just going to give him the same list to give him. So I ended up getting doubles for Christmas. And naturally, they both got mad about that. So that is how I found out there was no Santa. And yeah, as a kid, when it's the adults that are the reason why you don't believe in Santa anymore, that strikes a really bad chord, because to you at that age, adults know everything, they're correct about everything. So hence why I really hated Pete in this instance. It's like, I get he's supposed to be evil, but he's kind of like low tier evil in that he's more of a jerk than like, more haha, like supervillain evil. But in this case, like, he really was fucking evil.
My story, I held out till I was like a teenager, and the kids at school were like that, like, there is no Santa Claus, and I didn't believe them. But I eventually realized that, the unwrapped presents were still store-bought, and it wasn't as big a shock to me, but I was one of those late persons who was believing, and kind of went from there. But I've always had faith in simple things. I really believe that the idea of Santa carries enough weight that it's more important that you have this concept of giving gifts to people and giving kindness. Doug?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like, yeah, it's more the idea of Santa, and that's what we should really try to keep. And, I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
I don't know what to say. Look at that.
He's saying believe in Santa, or else.
Or else.
Or else. So yeah, like, that was the most important part of this. Unfortunately, the last segment, Mickey and Minnie's Gift of the Magi, is my least favorite. I think it's the weakest. I'm going to say right now, I already didn't like the Gift of the Magi. I think it's a stupid idea, but they make it a little bit worse. Doug, do you want to give a brief summary of the Gift of the Magi?
Well, let's see. So, Mickey and Minnie Christmas. Mickey wants to get a chain for Minnie for Christmas, and then Minnie wants to get something for a harmonica case for Mickey. But then Mickey winds up losing his job at the Christmas tree lot because he tries to do something nice while Pete's trying to upsell customers. And then Pete acts like the biggest dick, probably even bigger than what he did with Max by taking the money that he would have gotten from the bigger trees right out of Mickey's pocket. And then, fires him.
Yeah, after Pete tried to sell them a payment plan for a 10-foot tree that the family could neither afford nor fit in their home. Dear God,
Yikes.
man. I have never heard that before.
A payment plan for a tree.
Don't get me wrong, I've heard of there are certain Christmas trees place where they do reusable trees in that you can pay to borrow one of their trees, and when you're done with it, you give it back to them, and then they preserve it for another year, and then you could take it out again the following year. I've heard a lot of places have been doing that, renewable resources and whatnot. But this isn't that case. He's trying to sell what I can tell is bigger than 10 foot. We're talking 20-foot trees here that, unless you own a gigantic mansion, nobody's going to fit those things in their homes. So I don't know what the hell he was thinking.
They can't fit it in their house. They said it from the start, and it's oh yeah, we can give you a payment plan. I'm you're missing the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's why don't you just chop those in half so they actually fit in people's homes so they can actually, they actually want to buy them, and then just make the remaining branches into, wreaths and stuff to sell. I mean, that's what the Boy Scouts in my old hometown used to do. Dear God, Pete is such a bad businessman.
And then meanwhile, at the department store that Minnie's working at, she's waiting on her Christmas bonus. And of course, the stereotypical corporate bosses that they are, their idea of giving a bonus is giving her a fruitcake for the holiday.
So it's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Basically.
I guess. I know you're going to hate me for saying it, but I have not seen National Lampoon's Christmas.
It's okay. Chevy Chase is not for everyone. I do love it. It's a staple. There are parts that I don't like, but I feel like the whole point is their Christmas bonus is a Jelly of the Month Club subscription. That's it.
So yeah, of course, everybody's strapped for cash now. And then Mickey somehow gets roped into doing this concert in the park for firefighters. Because they're all busy, because Pete wound up setting his lot on fire. So the firefighters are all busy fighting the flames of that. So they don't have, they're not there to play music. And they just kind of grab Mickey and force him into doing it.
They kidnap him. They kidnap him,
they
yeah. Hear him.
And they kidnap him and they manipulate him. They're oh, you got to do it because the kids need, the audience really needs the cheering up. And it's one kid. And I'm
think of the children. Why won't anybody think of the children?
And I'm good on Mickey. He does wind up getting warmed, to the heart for it and does play his best. And then, he winds up finding out that, his harmonica is worth something. So he goes to the shop to trade it. to, of course, like the Gift of the Magi, now he's giving up his thing so that he can get a gift for Minnie. And then, of course, Minnie does the same exact thing. So she gets him a case for his harmonica, which, of course, he sold the harmonica. And he gets her a chain for, her necklace?
Her watch.
Her watch.
It's a priceless
and
heirloom.
She sold the watch. So, yay! Everybody's happy?
Everybody's miserable. I'm gonna interject here because they taught The Gift of the Magi in school. For those who don't know, it's a 1905 short story written by O. Henry, also known as William Sidney Porter. I don't know too much about him, but he was taught. And the whole idea was two people, very poor, they want to get each other something for Christmas. Someone sells their hair, the other person gets them something very important. It's, but the thing that they're getting for the other person was to complement another gift, and it ends up backfiring. And the whole spirit of the story is that the message is the act of giving the gift is one important, like wanting to give a gift. And the thing is, they forget that hair grows back, but the priceless family heirloom that gets traded cannot be given back. They try to fix that here by making it both priceless objects that they're trading to get for each other. But what really gets to me is that this is a story where they're clearly down on their luck. They can't pay rent. They're on their last notice. There's all this stuff, and, Mickey does so much for other people, and then they give each other this gift, and then it just ends. And I think what would have made this much better is all the people that Mickey helped chipping in, paying their rent, and getting their objects back. Like, that's the thing. Like, these are priceless heirlooms, things that mean so much. And yes, the act of kindness of doing something good for other people is more important than receiving things. But you should not do it at the cost when no one's getting any benefit. Kat?
I mean, I get the message. I mean, the point of, gift giving is not to get benefits. It's to get something thoughtful for the person you love. And I mean, they do that, but yeah, it is extremely frustrating when it is at the cost of both A, their very personal, priceless items that they cannot replicate or get back, and B, at the cost of, like, their living situation. Like, both the story and this particular segment highlights the big problem people have with Christmas, like, both the whole capitalist and, like, commercialism of it all, in that you must break bank to get your loved ones a present, otherwise you're not doing Christmas right. And it's like, no, why? Like, I get it, we want to do something nice for our loved ones, like, this is, like, one of the few times a year to do it, but, like, you're doing so at the point of, like, bankrupting yourself. Like, you're not helping anybody, you're not helping yourself. Like, I half expected them to be evicted at the end, because, they didn't take the money they spent on the gifts and, like, put it toward, like, a bill or something. Like, come on. Like,
this hits home to me because I have been in situations where I haven't been able to get anyone anything for Christmas because I couldn't afford any of my bills. I've been in situations where I've been very, very poor. And I said, hey, look, I want to get you something, but I simply can't. And when I can, I will do a small kindness for you. And that's, I think, more important. It's not, the idea of Christmas is to have the spirit of giving year round. And when you're that down on your luck, when you're that strapped for cash, unable to do something, the important thing is more just being with those you love. And there have been times where I'm just like, oh, I'm strapped for cash. People help me out. I come back and I help them right back out when I'm able to. And there have been, what I try to do is, like, if I'm well off at a certain time, I'll just make a small act of kindness to someone who helped me out in the past. I think that's the important thing. Whereas if the people that Mickey helped him back out, that would be the spirit of Christmas, not the commercialism that is brought in this special. Doug?
Amy, this is for you. A set of combs for your beautiful hair. Oh, that's so sweet. But I sold my hair to a wig maker so I could buy a set of combs for Hermes. Oh, the irony! I sold my hair so I could buy this third set of combs for Howard Zoidberg. Thank you. These will come in handy for my new hair. Finally, I look as pretty as I feel.
That's my favorite subversion of that story.
When Futurama does it the best, you like the original story is just not great, and I feel like instead of making Christmas about what we give, it should be about the kindness that we show to others. And kidnapping Mickey for a benefit and guilting him into it is also part of the problem.
Yeah, that was messed up. Like, I get it. The firefighters were in a tight spot by virtue of, again, Pete being a bastard. But, you know, you don't, like, guilt people like that. Like, Mickey clearly explained what was going on, that you're like, hey, I have to get this present, you know, before it's too late. And they're like, oh, but think of the children. Look at those poor little faces out there. And it's like, dude, come on, right? Like, I don't think anyone's going to be too beat up. I'm pretty sure the orphans will be fine with whatever toys they get. I mean, if they even get those toys. I mean, I question some of those fundraisers sometimes, the whole Toy for Tots thing. But,
and
like,
I mean, the Salvation Army is a scam now that we know that, and just
right.
It kind of feels kind of like that same thing.
Pretty much, and I mean, like, really, it's like, is the harmonica that magical that it just automatically makes people throw gifts at them? Like, apparently, I guess, because that's the only way they let Mickey off the hook. That whole thing just, like, it felt like they really had to strong-arm him into, like, doing these good things and, like, really guilt-trip him, like, just to cause conflict in the story and make you think, oh, he won't get the gift in time. When, in reality, when you think about it, it would have been better off if he didn't get the gift at all. At least then he'd still have his harmonica. It's like...
And that would have been a better message. There's a point in the story where the store manager closes and he plays the harmonica. And I felt that would have been a better lesson, even if he didn't get help by others. He's just saying, like, we have our treasures close to us, and it's the people that surround us, maybe. But this just doesn't do it for me. This is the weakest part of the film, and I had a lot of trouble.
I will say, one thing I found amusing is that Minnie's boss was Mortimer. And I think this was before his regular appearances in House of Mouse, because he sounded way different than what I'm used to. But it's also interesting, too, because normally when he's portrayed, he's like a rival for Mickey, like, for Minnie. So to see him just, like, there as just a generic boss, it was kind of jarring for me, just because I'm used to how he's portrayed now. But, I mean, whatever. It's like a nice little, like, you know, Easter egg there, I guess.
Doug, do you have anything to add before I move on?
No, I pretty much agree with you. It's one of the weaker segments. I don't know if the message really works, and it's very muddled.
Oh, I did want to add one little wholesome thing, though, about this. So at the time of this, the voice actors for Mickey and Minnie, Wayne Allwine and Russi Taylor, they were actually married. Like, they were husband and wife. So these are lines being read to each other by a husband and wife. And I honestly think that's really wholesome. So, like, that's probably, like, the only highlight of, like, of this movie. Like, at least this segment, anyway.
I have a couple things to add, but first we have to add the finale, which is basically just all of them coming together to sing a medley of Christmas tunes, Jingle Bells, Deck the Halls, and We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Normally, I wouldn't really put much into that. But here's the thing. The singing voice for Daisy Duck, Diane Michelle, is the one singing in the finale. And this was her final time voicing the character before passing the role to Tress MacNeille, who plays the speaking voice for Daisy Duck throughout. And I think it's kind of a nice way to pass the torch. There's a lot of stuff like that here that I like. And when we're talking about the voice actors, a lot of this is classics. Some people who have had the role for a while. You obviously have Jim Cummings as Pete. You have April Winchell as some of the background characters. So office supplies for everyone has returned.
Yeah. Actually, Jim Cummings does like eight different voices in there.
We have Kelsey Grammer as the narrator. You know, you have Tress MacNeille, you have Bill Farmer as Goofy, like a lot of these classics, and it's just
Alan Young.
It's nice to see them together. Yeah, it's nice to see these classics together before passing the torch to a more modern generation. It really feels like this was trying to be the end of an era, especially since this Goofy movie came up right after this in 2000. So I really like how they approached the casting and voice acting. So I wanted to end on a happy note because the voice cast itself, I think that was done well. Kat?
Oh yeah, definitely. You have a lot of your favorites that you grew up with. Some of whom are still alive and have continued to be the characters. Like Tony Anselmo is still Donald. We heard him in the new DuckTales. Same thing with Bill Farmer as Goofy and Tress MacNeille as Daisy Duck. So, and of course Jim Cummings does the voice of everybody. So he's always around in some shape or form. I did want to note like. Interesting you mentioned how it was a way to like the end of an era to cap things off, because this literally was the last straight to DVD Disney movie that was released in the 20th century. So
interesting.
Like, yeah, it was released November 9th, 1999, and so like you said, Extremely Goofy movie I think was like the first one of the 21st century. So, yeah. So definitely a nice way to, like, cap things off and then start things anew.
I also want to mention something that kind of threw me through a loop. I'm not used to Figaro being Mickey's cat. Frank Welker is the turkey and Figaro, and so Figaro, who is normally in Pinocchio, is apparently at this time Mickey and Minnie's cat. So that was something I found interesting.
I've seen that a few other times, too, where Minnie has Figaro.
Yeah, honestly, that's been a thing. Even in, like, today, like, that whole show on Disney Junior with Minnie and Daisy. Yeah, Figaro is still her cat. I'm not sure how or why that happened. I guess because they did it in, like, shorts or something to, you know, as, like, a juxtaposition, you know, like, because Mickey has Pluto, so they wanted to give Minnie a pet, and it's like, well, we already have a dog, let's add a cat, but let's add a cat people are familiar with. So, yeah, Figaro has just always kind of been there. And, I mean, he's his usual sassy self, so it's like, you know, it's cute, but it's not like he really does anything.
All right. The one thing I want to bring up before I bring us to our final thoughts is that, critically, it's sitting at a, like, 5 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes for average rating. It's like it's not very much approved, but if you look at some of the like responses, a lot of people are like, "Oh my god, this is a tearjerker. This is great," and a lot of people really praise it. And I don't fully understand it. I feel like a lot of this critical response, the people who were adults at this time noticed all the problems that we did, but I think the kids who grew up with this put it as special because of how they take the message of certain stories. I think A Very Goofy Christmas is the perfect portion, but everything else is a little bit weaker. That's my thing. We'll get to that. My final thoughts in a minute. Kat, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, it's the people that like look upon this fondly are those with like purely nostalgia goggles, because again, this is designed to be a Christmas special for children, you know, starring Mickey Mouse, and that's exactly what it is. It's an Christmas anthology starring Mickey and his friends. And I mean, it again, at the time it was a novelty because you didn't see that too often, whereas nowadays they basically have like multiple series on like Disney Junior and all that, so it's not as special anymore. But you know, at the time I could see why, and there was some effort put into it. I mean, the animation in it is actually pretty stellar, like especially for a straight to DVD movie from Disney. And again, the plots are generic. Again, these are old time stories done better in different movies and different shows. So yeah, there's really like not much to be said in that regard. Again, even I forgot about this, and I usually remember everything about most Disney films I watch. So yeah, again, it definitely has that genericness, but it's not. I wouldn't call it bad. It's serviceable. Yeah. It gives you that feel. So, you're happy that you saw it at least once. That's basically the gist.
Doug?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Kat, too. I was very surprised finding out that this was from 1999 and that the animation looks as crisp as it does. Especially for, like, early, computer animated or, I guess it was maybe hand drawn on computer stuff. I'm not quite sure, but in any case, the point is it looks, pretty good for its age. And yeah, like you said, with all the voice actors and everything, it's everybody does a good job. As I said from the beginning, it's pretty harmless, and parts of it are genuinely wholesome, and I can see kids of the day having that reaction of thinking that it made me cry and everything, and even like as an adult you can at least get teary-eyed for the Goofy segment. So I mean, it's definitely worth a watch.
Mm-hmm. My thing, I think this is...
Kelsey Grammer.
Okay.
Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey
Grammer as a narrator is amazing. Yeah. I think this is an okay watch. I would definitely recommend. It's free on Disney Plus at the moment, and go and check it out. A Very Goofy Christmas is the best part. As a package deal, it's okay. I think there are parts that are weaker, but I would not call it bad. I definitely have seen a lot worse, especially from Disney. I think it's, if you have kids, if you are a kid, you should definitely check it out. As you get older, some of the stuff may not work for you, but, maybe you'll see something in it that we don't. We're not the ultimate arbiter of taste. I don't try to be. I just try to say my opinions, and, I can be wrong sometimes. We've been wrong about certain things in the past, but I think what Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas gets right in most of it is that the holiday isn't about the gifts or the presents. It's about the company that we keep and about doing kindness to others, and that's what it should be. So I'm definitely happy I watched it. I just don't think it's the best thing we've covered on the Disney debate. It is nice though, because we can talk about diving into DuckTales a little bit, and it was a little bit of fun, and seeing this cast again was certainly nice for me, simply because, like, man, I haven't seen some of this stuff since I was a little kid, with, like, Bill Farmer, and just seeing this particular set of characters. And coming up as a sequel is Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. From this moment forward, they kind of stopped using a lot of hand-drawn animation. A lot of it's digital. I have problems with some of it, because I see some of the new Mickey Mouse shorts, and it looks like it's made for toddlers. And a lot of it has to do with the computer-generated animation. For me, Mickey will always be Mickey's House of Mouse. That, to me, is peak animation and how it should be. I do hear Twice Upon a Christmas is better, but I'm just worried about the animation, because this animation is so good. With that being said, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of buns.
I'm Kat Macberrie, and this is Remy Macberrie.
I'm Doug Macberrie.
And we will see you next time, where we go through the top 6 films of 2024. This was a lean year for Disney films. Thank you. We have time to breathe. I have time to watch them all.
Yay. Thank you, Writer's Strike.
There's going to be a lot more in 2025, but for this year, I actually had a little bit of a break. With that being said, have a good one, everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. If Kwanzaa is still a thing, I hope so. Happy Kwanzaa. All the holidays. All the holidays. Happy holidays to you.
Yeah. And a solemn and dignified Ramadan.
And a Festivus for the rest of us. And Remy is wishing you all happy holidays as well.